Albert Einstein once famously said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Well, does the data support that? What about savings rate? So is the rate at which you save your money more important, or is the rate at which you get returns on your money more important? Let's find out. Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, I'll do something different, that rather than provide you any concepts, lessons, habits, etc., I'll deep dive into Excel sheet formulas, graphs, scenarios, and try and explore this relationship between savings rate and the return of investments. And whatever we do or try and simulate the scenario in Excel sheet, I'll put the link in the description somewhere. On that Excel sheet, you can download and you can try and create your own personal simulations and see the same relationship between the savings rate versus return of investment and the importance of both in your scenario. So let's get started first with trying to have a common understanding of the savings rate and return of investments. I'm sure you know what savings are and what return of investments are, but just with a very quick example, let's say that you have a portfolio of 9 lakhs and you save 1 lakh from your hard-earned money and you put it in the portfolio, and by the end of the year you have 10 lakhs 70,000. So that 70,000, that's not 7% of your of the portfolio, that's your return of investment. That 1 lakh, which is 10%, is the savings rate, the rate at which you're saving money. Now let's go into a little bit more detail and try and make a scenario to show why both of them are important, and then at what stage what is more important over the other. To do that, let's do a simulation with 3 input parameters. The parameter number 1 is your savings, how much money you're going to be saving every year. Parameter number 2 is your target corpus or target net worth that you want to build. And the parameter number 3 is return of investment. So for your savings rate, we're going to assume 1% of your target corpus as your money that you put it into the portfolio. So let's say target corpus is 1 crore. So your money that you need to put every year in the portfolio is 1 lakh. And let's assume 7% as a return of investment. And by the way, you can put 2 lakhs to 2 crores as your target portfolio. You can put 5 lakhs as a savings rate every year, with 5 crores as your target corpus. And 7% you can also change in the Excel sheet that you will see. I've used these numbers because it's simpler to understand, and 7% is, I would say, a realistic number to chase when it comes to return of investments. We will also assume in the graphs and the Excel sheets that this is a smooth return of investments. In reality, I know that it will not be, you'll have some years 20%, another year maybe minus 10%. But I've done a separate video called Sequence of Returns, highlighting how the sequence in which you get your returns on your money, both during your working years as well as retirement years, how important that is. But here, for simplicity's sake, to prove some other point, we'll just use 7% across. So with these 3 assumptions, let's first start with the importance of both. And to do that, we'll put some extreme scenario. So let's say the same, that 1 lakh and that 1 crore is your, 1 lakh is your savings rate and 1 crore is your corpus. Now, as an extreme scenario, let's say you have 0% return. So that means you don't get any return on investment. So mathematically or logically, it will need 100 years, or you'll need 100 years to achieve that 1 crore because you get 0 returns. And now, mathematically, if you would have put 7%, you can achieve that same 1 crore, not in 100 years, but guess what? Within 30 years. So within the 30% of time, you can achieve that with just 7% of return of investment. And the more the return of investment, the better or the shorter the time that you can have. So that shows that, yes, return of investment is an important aspect. Similarly, on the savings rate. Well, if you are saving 0, then there is no way that you can achieve 1 crore or any money. And 0 multiplied by, even if you have 100% return of investment, is still 0. So it's a clear example that the both are important. But we need to get into the details because we know both are important, but at what stage is what more important, and is one more important over the other in the overall portfolio? So now the same example with this 1 crore with 1 lakh savings every year and 7%. In the 30 years that I mentioned, if you look at that example or that Excel sheet, and if you plot it on a graph, you can see that this graph is almost like an exponential, where from 0 to 10 lakhs, you'll have a certain amount of time, then 10 to 20 versus maybe 40 to 50, and then finally from 90 lakhs to 1 crore, there is a certain time. So now let's zoom in, and that's where there's a lot of fascinating information even in this simple calculation that we can get. So let's zoom in into the first 10 lakhs, because I think that's a very important part, and I'll also explain why that is an important part. Now, when you zoom in into that, the first thing is very clear, is that it takes around 8 years, 7.8 to be precise, to go from 0 to 10 lakhs. Now, 10 lakhs is just 10% of your target portfolio. So while 7.8 years is 26% of your total time that it takes to achieve the target portfolio. So you need 26% of your total time to just achieve the 10% of your portfolio. Now, here's another fun fact from the same graph, or a fascinating fact from the same graph. It takes less time to go from 60 lakhs to 1 crore than going from 0 to 10 lakhs. How amazing is that? And that's why Albert Einstein said this power of compounding. So the later years, as you can see in this graph, the time keeps reducing. So in the last part of this graph, so the first part, it takes 7.8 years to achieve from 0 to 10 lakhs. And the last part, so that's 26%. And the last part, it just takes 4% of your total time to achieve from 90 to 100. So that's like, it just flies by. Now, why is this first 10 lakhs very hard? And by the way, it's not just me or not the Excel sheet that is saying so. Interestingly, Charlie Munger, this big investor and friend of Warren Buffett, late Charlie Munger, he once said that the first 100,000 is the hardest, and then the first million becomes easy. Now, this is hard because first is that your savings rate is doing the major lifting. Now, you will see if you go into the data in the Excel sheet that more than 75% of that first 10 lakhs is just coming from your savings. And just about around 25% is coming from return of investments. You may say, hey, I will double my return of investment so that the number increases. Let's do that. So let's double it to 14. Let's even round it off upwards to 15. Even if you put 15%, you will see that majority, or more than 60%, comes still from your savings rate. And this is the first myth that many people fall during the early years of their investment, that they think that, just by increasing their savings, they keep taking more risk. Just by increasing the return of investment, taking more risk on the return of investment, they can really make it quick. No, there is unfortunately no shortcut. You have to go through that savings consistently to achieve that. And the numbers prove that. And yes, there is also a point at which you put your even savings at risk. So if you decide to chase some 30%, 40% of returns with very high risk returns, with the mindset that, hey, this is the early years of my career or my life that I can take a risk, you put your entire savings at jeopardy by doing that, and that 10 years may get longer. So you need to be careful there. Now, the other reason that this is such a big deal is because this is the first 10 years or the first 10 lakhs or the 10% is also the time when you are probably forming your career. It's also the time when you're maybe starting a family, getting married, getting a house. And it's also the time when you're building your investment habits. So while all this is happening, you're building the biggest foundations for your journey to financial independence. So the key message there is that, first of all, do not get dejected or discouraged that it's a tough journey, that I'm not getting very good returns. You will need to just consistently plow in your savings and keep saving, because as I've shown you mathematically, that even with 15 or 20% returns or more, it's not that you can just ignore savings. Your majority of the savings in the first part will come from your savings rate or your savings. Now, you may ask, hey, at what point does this power of compounding kick in? So if you look at this other graph, and you will see that somewhere around the 11th year, if we just use the same input parameters, is when the graph flips and the investment returns overtake your savings. So from this point onwards, the money, the hard-earned money that you save and that you put in your portfolio, has comparatively less value than the money that is being made by your portfolio. And in the later years, you can see that the savings rate becomes less and less important, and your return of investment are doing the major heavy lifting. And when you achieve that 1 crore the target, from that point onwards, or from your financial independence point onwards, the savings actually become redundant or not even non-existent. So for example, in Seema and our case, when we've taken this early retirement, we don't even have any income, so we don't even have any savings. It's just that now the return of investments is what is working. So what are the key conclusions out of this graph? So one is that initially it's the savings rate that does the heavy lifting. And it's also the savings rate that has a lot more control that you have, and especially in the initial years. Because return of investment is not in your control. It could be the markets going up or down, or some crypto really proving to becoming a lottery, or some share actually going bust. These are the things that are not in control or your control. What is in your control is how much money can you save and how consistently can you save. So that consistency matters. And to talk about consistency, here's other two fun facts. Let's assume that instead of you saving 1 lakh, you're going to save the double to achieve that 1 crore. Now, we probably will assume that, hey, if I double my savings, I will half my time in which it needs that 1 crore is needed to. So instead of 30 years, I'll do it in 15 years. Unfortunately not. Even if you double your savings to 2 lakhs, you will still need 22 years to achieve your 1 crore target. The same goes with your return of investment. Even if you double from 7 to 14%, you'll still need 20 years. So it's not a get rich quick or fly by night scheme when it comes to the journey to financial independence mathematically, that you can just, by increasing the savings, you can just half the time. You will still need the initial part. You will still need to go through this consistency. And lastly, when it comes to financial independence and retiring early, what you can do is, one, what is in your control is the savings rate, to increase the savings rate. And the second is, keep your return of investment at a steady point, that it doesn't add to risk to your portfolio, but at the same time, it is enough to accelerate the journey, so that you don't need it in 30 years, you can achieve your target faster. So I hope that this video, with this simulation of the savings rate and the return of investment and showing some fun facts on the graph, helps you and gives you some new insight into which is more important at what stage of your life and how to use it to your advantage. As always, please do comment, provide your suggestions, your questions, and as always, we'll try our best to answer every question, comments, and suggestions that you have. And lastly, if you've not subscribed to the channel already, please do subscribe. And if you do have subscribed, thanks a lot for your subscription. Till the next video, till the next topic, and till the next location from me. Goodbye.